It is India's largest private sector bank, and it now wants to bank on financial inclusion. 2 years ago, it started its own foundation. It gives 1% of its profits annually to the corpus of the foundation. We are talking about ICICI Bank. The ICICI Foundation for Inclusive Growth in its present avatar was set up only in 2008. But its activities took root almost a decade ago. The Foundation's challenge is to create a just society, one in which everyone has equal opportunity to develop and grow. With this in mind, the ICICI Foundation has set up 5 independent organizations to deliver the essentials for inclusive growth, primary health, elementary education, access to finance, strong civil society and environmental sustainability. In Bagdunda village in Gogunda block, 35 kilometers from Udaipur city, a group like this one gathers together once a month. Men and women come bearing their passbooks and money lockers. This is Pyari Bai, the wife and mother of migrant labourers. For years now she's had to fend for herself, making do with paltry sums of money left behind or sent across from distant towns in Gujarat. Or in cases of emergency, borrowing from thekedars at interest rates as high as 60%. But her life changed a year back.
हाँ तो कोई रकम खोलने नहीं दे देता, रकम गिरवे रखता है तो 15 रुपया देता करते हैं, वहाँ गया तो 15 रुपया मुझे मांगू तो वह रकम ही गई, कोई फायदा नहीं आती, वो यूं है जो आनी मात्र यूं तकलीफ नहीं आवेगी।
Anil Ghamoth is the branch manager for Gogunda with the Rajasthan Shram Sarthi Association, a branch of the Ajivika Bureau that works with migrant labourers in Rajasthan. Ajivika, IFMR and the ICICI Foundation have been working on this basic banking model since 2007. The rationale behind organising public meetings like this one is to make every borrower socially accountable. Bansi Lal was given a loan of 10,000 rupees at 2% interest to renovate his house. Anil encouraged customers to put in at least 20 rupees every day into the money locker and add bigger sums whenever possible. The key of the money locker always stays with Anil. Let me start by asking you something that Mr. Kamath said, and I'm going to quote that to you. He said, our social initiatives are aimed at capacity building in specific areas that we view as key to the long-term economic and human development of India. So that's really the driving philosophy, both for ICICI Bank as well as ICICI Foundation.
Absolutely right. For the entire group, in fact. Because as we look at India's growth, I think it's important for us to see how we can make the growth inclusive, and it's very important for us as financial services players as well to look at that, because as growth becomes more and more inclusive, I think we'll have a bigger role to play.
Criticism towards the banking industry in India has been that you're not really looking at servicing the rural community or the rural landscape in this country, because the cost of servicing is not commensurate with the kind of returns that you make. So are you now looking at it beyond generosity and corporate social responsibility? Yes, all of you are meeting what you're required to do in terms of lending norms, priority sector lending, because that's what the regulation tells you to do. But are you really satisfied with what you have done so far, and what is the vision then as far as the rural landscape is concerned going forward?
I don't think the banking industry today can sit back and say that a lot has been done. I think a lot more needs to be done. But why I still feel very optimistic about it is the fact that actually if we look at it, a lot of enabling conditions have been put in place now.
Yeah.
So there's always a stage of evolution where some
of these things... Is it looking more viable as a business proposition now?
Absolutely, it is, because the technology has come of age, the regulations have kind of come of age. So all these things, when you put them together, the ability to do business through business correspondence, the cost of technology through a mobile telephony, all that, when you put it together, it's maybe now that all these enabling conditions have happened. So I think, the growth that you would see in financial inclusion from here on would be kind of a multiple of what's happening.
What is the target that you've set for yourself in terms of rural banking?
See, in fact, what we have said is that over the next, in less than 5 years, actually in about 4-year time, we would be present in about 85,000 villages.
Okay.
And 60% of those villages will be with less than 2,000 people population. We are saying we would cover almost 20 million people through this. So I think we are quite kind of set to make this happen. We have found models which today look viable.
What has been the experience with the FINO technology solution that you have promoted within ICICI, and that other banking institutions are also sort of benefiting from? What has been the experience with that?
As we kind of developed the FINO technology or the smart card technology to take really banking to the unbanked, we said that this is not an initiative that should be restricted to ICICI Bank. We should actually make it open for the entire banking industry, because the amount that needs to be done in this country, every bank will have to work upon it. So there's no need for us to kind of hold it, as a proprietary technology. And I'm so glad that we did that, because today there are just so many banks using the same platform.
How are you going to further your own aspirations or your own ambitions with regards to tapping or creating micro entrepreneurs and so on and so forth?
We are already doing some of these things, because to give you some examples, if you look at our non-life insurance company, we have this very, very low cost insurance product that again we are giving to this rural population under the RSBY scheme. And again we have millions of customers there. And now what we are saying is, as a group, can we combine this insurance product under the RSBY scheme and the no-frills account from the bank, and then add something more to it and make it a even more meaningful proposition. But the way you start is that in some locations you start with the small value insurance under the RSBY scheme. In some you give some locations you do pilots on microfinance. In some you do through the business correspondent and go through no-frills accounts. You learn across each model, and then you kind of arrive at a model which is a combination of all these.
Lachi Ram's tea stall near the Gogunda bus junction does brisk business. He makes about 1,000 rupees every day, leaving him with enough margin to meet the EMIs on his loan. Lachi Ram, once a runner for a chaiwala in Surat, is in his third loan cycle and is contemplating taking a fourth.
मैंने अभी 10 लिया हूँ. मेरा धंधे में थोड़ा अच्छा है, सेफ्टी, कुछ 2 पैसे की बचत भी है. करीब 500 रुपया मेरा बचत हो जाता है सब खर्चा निकाल के. तो मैं इसको और बढ़ाने की कोशिश में हूँ और बढ़ाऊंगा मैं.